We're going to get onto chording and gleaning, which are incredibly useful skills, and they're very particularly used for various things in Demoncrawl, in ways that you don't find in Minesweeper, although chording is a thing in Minesweeper. You'll notice I am the spy mastery. That's the only one I tend to use, really, because the spy is all about the glean. So if I just open up the level, so if I click a single cell, solves a cell. If I right-click a cell, flags a cell. Fine. If I hold down both my mouse buttons, that's chording. You effectively, it's a chord. It's two operations happening at once to a different effect, combined effect at least. That will, if you notice, depress all of the cells around the one I was chording. If there is no possible way that the cells involved in the chord do not contain monsters. So as you can see here, I'm on a 2, 2, meaning that these two have to contain monsters. It will flag them for me. And if there is no possible way, based on the cell I'm chording, that there can be a monster, it will solve. Sorry, I shouldn't have moved the mouse there. So if I do it here, it will solve all of the chorded cells. The other thing that's really useful to know, it's mostly applicable to Spy, although other classes do have ways of generating glean. If you look down here, I have 11101. These are glean values. So this indicates that this cell is surrounded by 0 monsters. Bear in mind, it's surrounded by 0 monsters. This cell could contain a monster. The point of gleaning, you do have to think in a different way. It gives you a lot of information, but you have to use it quite carefully, and it's not that intuitive at first. But the whole purpose of gleaning is to tell you what this cell would have contained if you clicked on it. I would be willing to bet, in fact I can tell, this 0 does contain a monster. Yeah, but because it was a 0, it's surrounded by no monsters. That is the entire purpose of gleaning, and it's entirely what makes gleaning powerful but a little bit tricky to use. I'll get on to how spies sort of really properly take advantage of it, though. In fact, if I drop out of this, we are just going to skip into a harder difficulty real quick. So first thing you want, go into hard, go into, I'm just going to here, it doesn't matter particularly. All I want is to find a 4.
Hello.
We are just going to dip outside of how the classes work just for a quick second. Not how the classes work, but the order that I was planning to publish these videos in. Because if I'm talking about gleaning, I might as well talk about spy, because gosh, they go hand in hand. So here we go. We've got a 5 here, right? The spy's secondary ability is whenever you chord a 4 or greater, glean hidden cells nearby. So, if I just quickly nip around here and solve 1 or 2 other cells, if I can do some safely, these are probably cool. Yep. Are we in a good situation? We're in a good situation, right. So this is a 2 on an edge, meaning that this has to be a mine. So, glean the 5. All these have got their glean values applied to them now. All you have to do, though, is chord. Which means that if I were to say... let's find an example here. Going to need to... oh, here we are. Here's a 4. It's not an ideal 4. Okay. You know when you want an example one never shows up? Let's just move a little further on. I'll see if I can find you something better to demonstrate this. And flap. Yeah, no, it's going to have to be at least a 4 to demonstrate this. And I don't have any... I don't have enough time in my day. God, that was stupid. I don't have enough time in my day to really do any reasonable amount of editing. Right. You can tell that these two, one of them is going to be a mine. And that means that one of these two is going to be a mine. But if I were to say, I think all of these are mines. It's a 4. It's not surrounded by 5. But if I were to glean that, because I've said there are 5 mines around here, that means that to glean the 4 thinks I'm surrounded by 5, so that one can't possibly be a monster, which means that you've applied glean to all of the cells. So one of the powers of Spy is if you are absolutely certain that one cell around a 4 or greater is definitely safe, if you flag all of the cells around that original cell, so say that this is a 4, and I'm certain that this is safe, if I say, well, all of these are monsters, but I chord that, it will apply glean to all of these. And the benefit there is that that can quite often inform you as to where the mines actually are. Once you get into the mindset of over-flagging around a 4 or greater as a spy, you can unlock an awful lot of potential from the spy class, and it's part of what makes it really quite dominant in the later game. So it's a skill that you do have to learn, and it takes some getting used to, but it is so powerful, it really is.